This video is going to show you a solo flawless dungeon with the use of Outbreak Perfected. For those that just want to see that, then skip to the timestamps. For the rest of you, I can get into the information about the run. Before I do that, I just want to remind people, make sure you hit subscribe if you haven't, if you regularly watch my content. And like and comment and share is also beneficial, as I'm trying to put a big push on the channel for Into the Light for growth and all the way up into Final Shape. So I appreciate that. But anyways, getting into the basis of this run. So the basis of the run is to complete something with Outbreak Perfected only. So to only do damage with Outbreak Perfected in a activity. So that revolves around us not doing damage with our energy weapons or heavy weapons. Only Outbreak Perfected damage only, with only one or two exceptions. The two exceptions being that we are allowed to use a Well of Radiance and we are using Solo Operator, Revitalize and Blast for debuffs. But apart from that, it is all Outbreak damage. Okay, as long as you're clear on that, now I can get into the information. So first and foremost, right, the ornament's a big deal. Now, if you're using the original ornament, that means you're going to get D1 damage. If you put on the Mercurial Affliction ornament, you're going to decrease your body shot damage, but increase your crit damage, so that's nice. Matter Scourge has unknown effects when applied, so just bear that in mind. And then Archon Prime, which is my favorite ornament for Outbreak Perfected, increases nanite damage. So I recommend that you go with that. Let me know down below which one you like the best out of the ornaments. We're not using any weapon in the energy slot, so it doesn't matter what I have on. So I just had on this random hand cannon. I've got a Eager Edge Sword, so we are going to use this Eager Edge Sword, but we're not going to damage with it. We're not damaging any enemies with it at all. The run's pointless. So it's, like I said, it's all Outbreak Perfected damage, apart from us allowing to use a Well and then a debuff every now and then via our abilities. We're using a generic build with the Stag, which I'll get into when we're actually playing, right? And literally this is our build. So helmet, kinetic siphon, heavy ammo finder, dynamo, arms, double kinetic loader, solar resist, void resist, and a charged up on the chest plate. Stacks on the boots with some orb mods, recuperation, and the grenade one. Double bomber, healthy finisher, and we are going to do a surge switch to triple kinetic surges with elemental time dilation, obviously still charged up, kinetic loaders, etc. And just with the stag build, just letting Outbreak do most of the work. So that's really the build. On with the run. So for this run, I chose Pit of Heresy as our activity. If you want to see me use Outbreak Perfected in more serious content, then I have a nice solo GM on Hypernet with Outbreak. So I recommend that you go and watch that if you want to see how Outbreak performs in true endgame. I made that video a while back, but the problem is that the current Grandmaster Nightfall is Psyops, Cosmodrone. It's not good for Outbreak because there's no Overload champions in there, and it's Overload Pulse Rifle. So that's why I chose to do something else other than a GM. So I picked a dungeon. I didn't want to pick Shattered Throne because I have a recent clear of that on the channel. I didn't want to do like Grasp of Avarice or something because the run would be so long. So obviously the idea of the video is to do Outbreak only, right, as damage. And that would only work, it wouldn't work well in like other dungeons like Ghost of the Day. Imagine just doing Outbreak damage only in a dungeon like that. You'd be like 2 hours. It would be like a 2 hour solo clear. It'd be crazy. You'd have to do like 6 phases on the first boss, 7 or 8 phases, like just primary damage ammo. It'd be insane. So that's why I didn't pick something like that. I picked something more approachable, and it's just I wanted to get a Outbreak video out of my system this week. But there'll be more to come when we craft it and obviously with the 0 hour, and I'll be covering that in great detail. And the craft, I'm not going to discuss today on what the God Roll craft is, because I just want to experience it, and then I'll tell you my exact thoughts and stuff on the gun. So our symbols was pretty good. If you've never played this, then basically this is the explanation of the mechanics. You got 3 hive symbols from the at the very top. Those symbols you need to go to, and there's a VIP target randomly at each one on a different rotation. There can be Knights, Wizard, Shrieker. Shrieker you block, Knights you light swing, and the Wizard you heavy attack. And that's literally it. But the caveat is a super from the Relic will do damage to all 3. You can take advantage of the super and do a lot of damage to each VIP target, which means that you can use 1 sword relic for all 3 VIPs. This is better, I think, rather than wasting a sword to then have to go and get another one, because sometimes it's a nuisance to go and get another relic because the knights don't spawn in as quick as we would like. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So my strat with Pit of Heresy hasn't really changed over the years. I do it with 1 relic. I don't waste the sword skating and stuff like that. I just float over there. It's fine. This isn't a speed run. We're not trying to speed run. Like I say, I'm trying to show you a unique run that people might not have thought of. It's basically doing exotic primary damage only. And in this case, it's Outbreak. It'll be interesting for the boss, and it's interesting for the totems encounter, and maybe for the Ogre Maze. But for this first section, it's not interesting at all. So I understand if you skip to those sections, but that's fine. That's why the video is time-stamped for such people. There's people that want to watch all my videos, and then there's some people that only want to watch 10 or 15 minutes, which, by the way, is actually decent. If you're watching 15 minutes on average per video, you're actually doing really, really well for me. So I appreciate that. People who are not watching, people who are only watching like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you aren't really doing that well for me, but that's fine. You can't win everyone over. But yeah, like I said, if you're somebody who's watching at least half of the video, you're doing more than enough that I could ever want off somebody. So that's decent. We use a sword super, then a light swing on the knight. You need to kill a knight to get through the door. In this case, we've got Wizard. Wizard is the hardest VIP target out of them, right? So what I do is I drop the sword. We're going to use Outbreak. Obviously, we can only use Outbreak in this. We can't use hand cannon. We can use our heavy to eager edge, but not deal damage. We never ever deal any damage with our sword at all. It's only for eager edge. That is the only reason it's on there. And if you're going to tell me that that doesn't validate the run, then you're just trolling me at that point. We're dealing no damage with it. It's just for movement tools. That is it. Because if I didn't run an eager edge sword, you would say, why didn't you use an eager edge sword? So I can't win. So I'll use the eager edge sword just because our heavy serves no purpose right now, because we're doing Outbreak only. So we use a super there on the Wizard. Like I say, you can see how it saves so much sword ammo using a super. So make sure that you do on these. Just for general Pit of Heresy runs, if you still haven't got your Soul Flawless on this, do this strat where you have 1 sword. But going further than that, for the final door, after you've killed 3 VIP targets, the final door is always at the bottom where the green light is. There's another knight to kill. But it's nice just to be able to kill him with a sword super, light swing, and get the hell out of there, and you got your drop. So it's just a smooth way of doing this first encounter. As far as how Pit of Heresy is aged, this is probably one of the worst encounters in any dungeon. The reason is because it's out of balance, it's out of whack. It's too easy to get the Relic, and then the Relic does all the work. But the opening encounter is just to teach you the mechanics of the dungeon, and that's how Bungie goes about things in dungeon content in general. The first one or second, the first or second encounter will at least give you a taste of the mechanics, and then they'll slowly bleed in more of them, and then layer the mechanics. So with the Ogre Maze, there's a route. There's a cool route to do, and I've been doing this for years. And I know a lot of people have lost their Solar Flawless because of the Ogre Maze, and they don't understand why they lose it. And I'm here to tell you why you do lose it on this bit. And it's because you don't understand Ogre rotation and the pattern. So the first orb that you pick up is in this cave here. You then go outside to the cliffside. You then outskate the Ogre with the orb. This can be done on any class, Warlock, Titan and Hunter, the same thing. Just do that. Obviously if you're on a Hunter, you know, maybe if you were on Invis, you can go Invis and that will work, but you don't even need that either. But yeah, you can easily outskate the Ogre on all classes. Get your dunk. There's 3 dunks to get: left gate, mid gate and right. We do it in that order. If you do it in other, there's other routes, but believe me, this is the best, safest route. Right, then we're going to swordscape past this Ogre. If we need to, we will pop a healer nade. Obviously I have healer nade on right now, but I do end up changing that. We'll get a debuff on this knight, which as I said I'm allowing for in the video. Pick up the orb, we'll go back on ourselves and then over the cliffside. Okay, this is actually a really good save. He stomped us and I didn't get back on quick enough. But this is safe, it's just because I got stomped. And I didn't realise I would sway out so far on the Warlock. This is a good save, this though. You've got to admit it. I know people do like it when they see somebody make a good save. Now this is bad, because we literally will lose flawless here, so we're lucky. We're lucky, but it's good movement to stay back. But getting back to the video anyways, there's a secret passage, basically, which most players should know, but not everyone will know this. I need to stop assuming that everyone knows everything, because I have a problem of that. I have a bad problem of assuming that you know this information. For certain things I do, at least, which I'm trying to ease up on and sort of accept that. Okay, maybe not everyone knows all these minor details. In actual fact, when I think about it, especially when I've been on Reddit over the years, a hell of a lot of you don't know enough. Which is why you've got your YouTube, you've got your players who show things off. I'm trying to constantly give out knowledges. Some people appreciate, some people not so much, but that's just how life is. So you might see future videos where I'm a little bit more generalized to the general public of D2, to sort of respect that, okay, you don't know the information. I'm not going to take the piss about it. I'm not going to take advantage of that. I'm just going to say, right, talk to people as if they don't know, so that it covers the players that didn't know that information. If you already knew, then it's just reinforcing the idea to you anyways on certain topics. So we've got Chamber of Suffering. Obviously we didn't banner it, we don't need to do anything like that because we've got a exotic on. This is only outbreak damage, of course. But with the Chamber of Suffering encounter, we used to cheese this a lot with the orb dupes. Obviously that's not a thing now, so you've got to do it legit. So this is actually really interesting footage you're going to see. So we'll be rating on Outbreak's damage against the VIP targets, which it's doing really well, and Outbreak always does against enemies that are at your power or below. It does well against GM ads as well, but you need to be within good range. Like you say, go and watch the Hypernet solo GM and you'll see that I do pretty well in that with Outbreak. Where it will lose points is range, because it's a pulse rifle. Pulse rifles have not been good in PvE since Forsaken. Since Forsaken 2018. They haven't been good since then. Like, when I say good, I mean meta defining good. I mean this is the choice that you pick. Well, 2019 shall we say, because we were using them in 0 hour, weren't we? Blast Furnace and stuff like that. So we were using them then. But Forsaken, they were definitely king. the 4 burst round pulses and stuff. But what I'm saying is the exotic versions of pulse rifles also suffer, even though that they have a 40% damage bonus over legendaries. They still suffer because they're not good as a bow. They're not as good as a combat bow, as Wishender, Le Monarch. They're not as good as an exotic one like Polaris Lance, or even Symmetry's actually half decent. So, or Skyburner's Oath even's decent. So, because it's a pulse rifle, it suffers slightly in GMs at range. But if you're below 30 meters, Outbreak's decent in GMs. And if you're up against Overload champions, it's really, really good because of the nanite damage being counted as Overload rounds. If it's Barrier Pulse in Final Shape, Outbreak Perfected will be amazing. Literally the best, one of the best Barrier Pulse rifles in the game, apart from Revision Zero, because Revision Zero actually, let me think about this a minute, I think Revision Zero is probably the best exotic pulse rifle in the game right now. Yes, even better than Outbreak, but let's see what that will be like when Outbreak's craftable, so I don't know that yet. But Revision Zero got massive buffs, and I've been using it in GMs, and it's doing huge damage. You know, it almost feels like 2018 again when you use Revision Zero in GMs, just because of the buffs against red bars, champs. It melts champs. But so does Outbreak in the right circumstances, though. But with the Chamber of Suffering mechanics, if you don't know what's going on, so you've got the Curse of Suffering debuff on the left-hand side. This will stack up. The more it stacks up, I believe, the harder the enemies hit. Yeah, you're also timed with the totem plate, so you need to keep stepping on plate like King's Fall. So if you play King's Fall totems, it is a solo version of that. But every time you dunk an orb, you get double knight at top, the Boomer Knights, and you need to kill them. So what's Outbreak doing for Agclay? It's doing really good for that. I'm staying alive with this dog. I've got recuperation for orb kill, which I'm getting lots of orbs. So I'm able to stay alive enough without using restoration, like infinite restoration, that is. I do have Healing Aid, which is restoration, yes, but it's just for those seconds and then it goes away. Because we're not, because Outbreak's not solo, last time I checked. So it's literally good movement, relying on stagger a little bit, good ag clear, Outbreak doing decent damage to VIP targets, doing decent damage to Boomer Knights. It's actually good. Like Curse of Suffering's the hardest encounter in Pit of Heresy, and it's ticked all the boxes. This build's decent. It works well enough. It's not infinite restoration, but you're not gonna play infinite restoration for the rest of your days in D2. You're not gonna play it with him. You need to. I think now with the solar season coming to near an end, you need to maybe start stepping off using infinite restoration sort of stuff. I am using a solo build here, yes, but just don't crutch on solo too much. I am just using solo here just to make sure that the video is not too long. That's the only reason, really. But it's gonna come to a point, as I say, with Final Shape where you're gonna get rusty because you'll have only used solo for so long. And not having that restoration at hand so quickly, you might lose a little skill because of it. I'm just saying, I'm just prepping you for Final Shape. Then all of a sudden things feel hard in Final Shape and you're like, what? Just prepping you. So I need to do it. I'm guilty of it as well. Obviously I'm guilty of it because I'm on a solo subclass here, so I'm a little hypocritical. But I am kind of hypocritical. As you've noticed over the years, so that's just what I'm like. But it's recognizing that, and like recognizing that you played too much on one class, and then taking a step back, and then starting to use builds that are going to be notable in Final Shape, like using Berry Bloodline, you know, stuff like that. Starting to go back to stuff that's going to work anytime, not just this season. You've got to stack, I believe, 6 orbs. You've got to dunk. Just make sure that you're timing between stepping on the plate. When I pick up the orb, I step on the plate to reset the timer, then dunk. Don't just go for the dunk, because the plate, the totem timer will end up killing you if you do it like that, depending on how long you've took with your knight. The best course of action is always to damage your knight from range, right? Weaken the knight if possible. If the knight keeps hiding, you're going to have to push the knight. But generally speaking, if you're using like a special weapon and a heavy weapon, which you should be, like a rocket launcher and stuff, you're going to melt them quickly enough. Or these are Nagis. Burden will one-shot them. But this is a good example of me showing you movement in this room. Void resist is a big one, because all the acolytes do void, and they do hit quite hard. Especially with the Curse of Suffering. So, it's a case of this build worked well enough. Without the stag, this weapon would fall, this run would fall to pieces a little bit. Only a little bit though. You'd still be able to do it without it. I would maybe use something else then for health regen. I think this might be the last orb. Yeah, so the suffering has ended. So pretty decent. Worked well in this, so it's top marks for that. Bear in mind, we just used Outbreak. We didn't use any heavy, you know, machine gun would be good in this. You know, we didn't use anything. Just the weapon, just a few healing hits, a well here and there, and that was it. Which a lot of people regard that encounter as quite hard for them. I hear people complain even till this day, and they're using a full build about staying alive and stuff. Oh, I have to go on invis on this bit. You don't need to go on invis on that bit. You definitely don't. You don't even have to do it with infinite restoration. You can do it with stasis. You can do it with void's always a good one. Devour on the totem section. But there's a lot of access to builds with health regen now, so you've got a lot of options. Whereas when this launched, you didn't have a lot of options, and people cheesed this encounter for a while. Like more than a year we cheesed it. You just pop a well, dunk 6 orbs, and then move on. This encounter, the wizards, this is a big wide open area. You get symbols to tell you which area to go to. I don't use the symbols for this area, right? In actual fact, I don't know the symbols of this area and what they correspond to, because I've never used them. Do you know why? Because I have a little simple strat for this room. This room, I just use the radar. So my strategy is, as I enter this area, I go left. Because left has a good chance of getting one of the wizards. If you're lucky, you get 2. In this rotation, I got 2. And I didn't even have to look at symbols and start looking at maps. I didn't need to do any of that stuff. I went left. Boom. 2 wizards. Done. That's it. Now I only need 1 more wizard, which... Bear in mind, I don't know where that last wizard is, fair enough, but it's just a process of elimination. It's pretty straightforward. You just go where the enemies are. Where you get red on your radar, that's where your wizard will be. So don't worry about it. If you don't know this area though, chances are you're going to lose solar floors to it. If you've never been here before and you start doing the jumps, you will definitely die to the rollers. The rollers will one-shot, or you'll fall off map. Anyone who ever played this first time definitely died. I know I did when I first, like the first time coming here, because it's heavy jump and puzzle based. It's easy to fall off. Not for me now, because I've played Pit of Heresy obviously a lot. I don't know how many solar floors clears I've got in this, but I've got quite a few, and I literally know everything there is to know about this apart from the symbols. But I don't care to take the time to learn it. I don't need to. Doesn't matter really to me. So, in terms of what I'm on about, in terms of the jumps and the locations, I know everything. So at this minute, there's 2 locations where the wizards could be. Well, location number 1, where I'm going now, there's actually like a few wizard spawns. So what I do is I jump to mid here, to this middle platform. If there's no red left, right, or in front of me, then the wizard's not here. So I done a tester. Alright, we got that wrong. The wizard's not there, but that means the wizard is on the outside rotation of this section, which is where I'm going to go to now. So we'll make our way there. We've got a well, which I'm going to use. I may as well, obviously, just so that we can clear out the wizard quicker. Obviously, if you're on any other class like a hunter, put stompies on if it's your first time here. On a titan, then lion ramparts. But even then, the titan jump's that good you don't even need them. But if you're new here, then you might want to use them. It's up to you. It's just personal preference at this point whether you want to use a movement tool or not. We'll just pop a well to kill his final wizard. And that's really straightforward as that. This encounter is just to get to the final boss. It's not interesting enough to validate it as a good jumping puzzle. In the new Warlord's Ruin, I would say that's far better than what this is. There's a lot of traps there. There's a lot of points to it. There's a lot of secrets in there for the Buried Bloodline quest and stuff. There's a lot of point to it all. Whereas, like, with Pit of Heresy, there was the Xenophage quest, which, by the way, is actually really good. But by that, the traversal sections in this dungeon are weak. I would say they're weak, apart from maybe the Ogre Maze. That's good. That was always a good little encounter, especially back in the day, because the Ogres used to melt more than what they do now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Healer Nade off, put Solar Grenade on. I just need to reapply that to my builds, because I'm going to Surge Switch with triple kinetic surge, because obviously we're using a kinetic weapon, with a healthy finisher on our initial loadout, so that we can build up armor charges. You can see the consuming on the left hand side now. That's just because I had to redo them with a Solar Nade involved, because I want that for damage. So we'll start with the encounter. So we'll start with a quick melt on one of the knights. The quicker we melt a VIP knight, the better it is. The better the flow of combat. Because we're going to pick up that sword right away, and now we're invincible. We'll do a guard for the Shrieker. So Shrieker's always top, Wizard's right, Knight's left. What my rotation is this. Block for Shrieker right away, because the Shrieker can start to attack you whilst you fight adds. So getting the Shrieker down first is a good little thing you can do. It's a good routine for Pit. We're then going to go for Knight second. That's just how I do this, because by the time you block the Shrieker and kill Shrieker, you have a super. That's a good time to go and super the Knight. Get your super out so you can super again. That's what it's all about, really. Obviously blocking prevents damage against the Knight. So the old combo for Pit was 2 light, block. 2 light, block. That was the way to not be damaged at all. It doesn't need to be so strict like that, like it used to be, because you used to get hit a lot harder in this. Nowadays, you're not getting hit hard enough to care to do any sort of combinations. You don't need to, essentially. It's just because the dungeons, the floor level of the dungeon is 1600 power, and the enemies don't hit that hard. They do a little bit in the Chamber of Suffering, but other than that, they're not really hitting that all that hard. So we use a super on the wizard. We'll finish with heavy attack. So, some adds are still alive, but it's fine. We're tanky enough just to go in and use that. We'll pick up the orb. Get a good healer nade out on all these adds, because when you are at a section of one of the VIP areas, the adds will group up on the stairs, so it's actually a good time to kill a lot of them. Depends if you need orbs. I only need 1 because I've got stacks on stacks, so I'm pretty good to kill them. I'm going to dunk 2 orbs, not 3, 2 of course, because we always prep before damage. Don't rush and dunk 3. Unless you're doing some sort of speed run, then you would do that. But for most players, you need to get prepped, ready for your surge switches. Which, by the way, it's an easy solo 1 phase now on this boss. If I was actually trying stuff which, you know, actually use a full setup with an energy, a heavy, and a Roman super, you can melt this boss. So we've dunked our orbs. We're just going to clear out the thrall. Then we're going to weaken one of the knights, because the knights spawn the relic, of course. The thing about this is, though, if you kill the knights too early, you get a knight spawn up during DPS against Zulmak. You don't want that to happen. What you want to do is kill the knight and start DPS around just after that. That way you won't get a fresh knight spawn in. You'll get a knight spawn in after DPS, but not during. That's a critical thing to know, that, because the knight will bother you whilst you DPS. There's a chance of death if Zulmak was to hit you with solar plus a random knight spawns. You could die if you're not in a well. Chances are low, but it could happen. You can also blind the knights with these orbs, look. So we're going to blind the knight, get a reload on Outbreak, do a surge switch. We're then going to get a dunk on the orb. We'll go with our first debuff first, and then all Outbreak. Quite weak right now, but that's fine. We're going to keep doing damage. We're then going to get a solar nade, and then all Outbreak with a well. We do a well later on in DPS. The critical reason for this is that we can get more DPS in, because this means we ignore Curse Thrall. The biggest thing with Zulmak is, if you have to do damage to the Curse Thrall, you lose damage. But that's what this is all about, isn't it? This was always about the curse trying to kill you during DPS. Obviously we can out heal him in a well, so it's better to use the well at the middle of the damage phase rather than at the start. If you use a well, say at the start of damage, at the back end of damage your well will run out and the curse could kill you. One simple fix to this is just don't pop a well right away. Pop it like 10 to 15 seconds in, and then that way you can get in so much more damage. That damage, by the way, what is that? Just below a third. That damage is actually less than what I should have done. Slightly less. But you'll see on my second phase and third phase of damage, we crank up the damage quite a lot. It was just because of the positioning of the boss. It wasn't the best. So we'll rinse and repeat from here, really. Same thing. I think I went for a different VIP target this time, which is fine. It doesn't matter. We're going to clear out some of these enemies. We're actually making orbs via our sword. Right, now we have kinetic siphon on our helmet. Right, we don't have any heavy-handed mods on. We're making orbs. So what I'm here to tell you is, kinetic siphon works with the relic, which I don't remember this ever being a thing. I don't remember siphon mods working with this relic. But then again, I haven't played Pit in so long to even remember that. But that's kind of cool. So that was something I found out today. That's the only thing I found out, but at least it's something that I found out when I played. So, I mean, I don't know if it works with all siphon mods and it's just solar siphon or whatever. But I have kinetic siphon on at this point, and it's generating orbs. So then maybe the game considers the relic as a kinetic weapon. Kind of cool. Or maybe because when I pick up the relic, just before I pick up the relic, I had Outbreak on, so the game's thinking I'm getting Outbreak kills. I don't know. But it doesn't matter either way, because there's that many ads to spawn orbs that I would still have my 4 armor charges regardless of that anyways. I just thought that was a kind of a cool interaction to let you know about. I try and dunk 2 orbs before doing ad clear, because then you do ad clear all in one go. Like, why dunk 1 orb to clear ads to then dunk another orb to clear ads again? That's just a slow way of doing it. I just prefer just to dunk 2 orbs, clear all the thrall, clear all the stuff, clear all the knights apart from 1 if we can help it, and then just do it like that. The ironic thing is, in this run as well, we barely used a rift, yet we had stag on. Well, we did. To be fair, I did use it a lot in the suffering encounter, but at the boss fight, I don't even think I might have used 1 or 2 rifts. That is it. Obviously, there's so many other things I could have used. I could have used Apotheosis Veil, Dawn Chorus. I could have really been OP, but I decided not to be so OP. I decided to try and nerf myself a little bit. Just to let you know as well, when the Pit of Heresy first came out, I'm on about the first week. I'm not on about as in 2019 in general. I'm on about the first week, first month. The golden standard then was solo free phase. If you were solo free phasing Zulmak in 2019, week 1 of the dungeon launch, this was really good damage, and that involved Izanagi's Burden and a heavy GL, Wendigo. We're solo free phasing with just a pulse rifle now. Is that not showing you the power creep? Look at this damage. Big nanite damage this. Huge nanite damage. We're doing a lot more damage on phase 2 just because the positioning of the boss was a little bit better for us. So we'll put in as much damage as we can. We'll even do a bit of damage on final stand. Try not to overcommit to damage though. You can get caught out and be killed, of course. So get out of that well or that dark energy beforehand so you don't wipe, of course. But yeah, that's a lot of that's like a lot of damage compared to like the fact that it took solo free phase in 2019 with literally Izanagi's and a good heavy GL. I remember seeing people 6 phasing and 5 phasing Zulmak on the first week. There was clips of it. I specifically remember this. There was a girl streamer, I think she'd done it in like 6 phases, and I think she got movie of the week for it. 6 phases. Bear in mind Zulmak was a lot more tanky then, but now we're doing it in 3 with literally just a pulse rifle and a toothpick. It's crazy, and I didn't expect it. I was expecting a 4 phase with debuffs, which bear in mind if I didn't use debuffs, I would probably be able to squeeze out a 4 phase. Still, without debuffs, or maybe 5. But that's just extending the video way too long, and I can't do commentary on a 5 phase Zulmak fight. I'm struggling to do it on a solo free phase, like the commentary. See, a lot of users as well don't consider that as something when I'm making content. Which I made a video, was it recently? That was it, the Mananan Better Devils run. And a lot of people saying I was clickbaiting on that video. I don't see how I'm clickbaiting on that video when I showed you literally the weapons, and I give you the groundwork for the video and the reasons for the video and all the mechanics, giving you full detailed commentary. Yet that some people said I clickbaited that. Like, I definitely didn't. It was a Shattered Throne run, wasn't it? I definitely didn't do this because I'm literally using the year 1 meta, which was Mananan, Better Devils, Warcliffe Coil. Weller Radiance didn't exist then, yeah, fair enough, but we solo 1 phase both bosses to make the video shorter. The longer the video is, the harder it is for me to make because I'm doing commentary. I'm not with the silent boys making silent content. So I'm on a different realm of content creation. You can have your silent people. They can do that. It's probably better in the long run anyways to make silent content. You'll last longer. Alright, because the content that I do is actually quite exhausting and difficult to do over a long period of time. Right, it's all a big experiment, and I've said that for years. It's a big experiment. So there's all sorts of different considerations that come into play when I'm making content, as opposed to somebody who's a silent runner. They might even be a speedrunner that's also silent as well, right? But that's a different realm of content. Just let me do my thing. If you're not down with the video or you didn't like the video that much, that's fine. You don't have to. Not everyone has to like everything that I do. Alright, I know there's a lot of people that do like a lot of things that I do, or, you know, think it's decent sometimes, maybe sometimes not so decent. That's just what it's gonna be. That's fine, but there's different considerations to be made when making different types of content, especially when there's full commentary given, you know, over the course of the video. It's different to silent runs, because I do silent runs as well. And silent runs are a hell of a lot easier to make than what these are, because there's a lot more considerations to be made. So we're going to finish off the boss, less than a third, really easy, insane power creep that we've had on the game. But it was interesting using Outbreak in this. I actually really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to crafting the weapon. I hope you enjoy. Thank you.